Returning to the very spot where his fateful encounter with the dean had occurred, Yi Xian stands fiercely with his sword as he questions Kangmu Academy if anyone wants to fight him. Answering his call is Mook Song, an air of defiance accompanying him as he shamelessly accuses Yi Xian of being a bully, a vein protruding from his head as he threatens to take his life. Upon hearing Mook Song's words, Yi Xian remarks that his words also align with his own intention, declaring that he will die by his sword as he charges at Mook Song. With mirror-like determination, Mook Song charges forward, goading Yi Xian to engage. In a clash that mirrors their unwavering resolve, the clash of their forces creates a spray of blood. Mook Song finds himself severed from the companions who once shared his lonely nights, and in this solitude, he ponders how Yi Xian could possess such a powerful force, speculating whether the sword immortal behind him had taught him that. His final words are partially left spoken as he stares at Yi Xian, who coldly slashes his head off, leaving his body kneeling as they continue their ascent, reaching the summit where a stunning sight awaits them, a formation of swords, each one representing a student of Kanglin Academy. Tears flow in her eyes as Anji reveals that beneath this formation rest the remains of the Academy's disciples, once proud and honorable in their lives, now desecrated by Kangmu Academy. Hearing this, Mu Yun expresses his disgust for Kangmu Academy, assuring that they will pay a heavy price for this action. He resolves to remove the swords and carry his fallen predecessors back to their rightful resting place. Bai Zhe offers his aid, ready to assist. However, Yi Xian intervenes, urging them to halt. Observing the swords before them, Yi Xian states his intention to force the people of Kangmu to return them back to the academy, all while on bended knees. His proposal finds unanimous agreement among the group as they intercept the approaching enemies. They issue a demand that, in order to survive, they must humbly transport the remains of the fallen disciples back to Kanglin Academy. Failure to comply would result in their bodies finding rest in the Kanshan Trail. Hearing this, veins protrude from their heads as anger flares in response to his demand. Sensing their intention, Yi Xian accepts their challenge, leading Ku Mu to acknowledge Yi Xian's remarkable speed as he charges with his sword raised high, eventually striking down Ku Mu. In his final moments, Ku Mu acknowledges Yi Xian for causing the collapse of Kangmu Academy before succumbing to his wound. Witnessing the demise of their vice president at Yi Xian's hands, fear courses through the students. However, a few amongst them remain steadfast, seeking vengeance for Ku Mu and charging at Yi Xian. Seeing this, Yi Xian coldly remarks that they are seeking death. In response, he immediately slashes through the charging group in one swing, leaving no one standing. Another student tries to attack Yi Xian from behind. However, Anji intercepts the attack, reminding them of her presence. Mu Yun and Bai Zhe join in, emphasizing that Yi Xian is not alone in the fight. Despite the increasing number of enemies, Yi Xian and his group eventually assert their dominance, leading the remaining enemy to realize the end of Kangmu Academy. As the life of the final opponent fades away, Yi Xian and his comrades change their attention to those students who refrain from joining the fight. With pointed queries, Yi Xian inquires if the students still desire life. The students reply approvingly, trembling in fear as they confirm their desire to live. In response, Yi Xian points his sword at one of the students, explaining that 36 corpses from Kanglin Academy lie beneath the hill. He orders the students to take the corpses back while kneeling, encouraging them by threatening to kill the last person to arrive. Hearing this, the students immediately hurry to their task, fearing for their lives. Observing this, Yi Xian remarks that Kangmu Academy of the Jiang Kingdom is completely destroyed. Anji reflects that this is the consequence of unkindness and unrighteousness, a sentiment echoed by Mu Yun. Shifting his attention to a nearby building, Yi Xian notes that Kangmu Academy is already in ruin, its former possessions now their own. He proposes relocating the valuable items within Kanglin Academy. In a light-hearted tone, Mu Yun and Bai Zhe jest that they're about to turn into bandits for the day. Returning to Ji Meteor Mountain, Yi Xian and his companions behold the remains of the Kanglin students, while the Kangmu students kneel off to the side. The latter inquire if they're now free to depart. However, Yi Xian's response comes in the form of an intense glare, inducing panic within the questioning student who reminds Yi Xian of his earlier assurance. In response, Yi Xian draws his sword with an intimidating demeanor, issuing a curt command for them to leave. Hearing his words, the students waste no time in fleeing for their lives. With his sword pointed downward, Yi Xian embeds it into the earth, creating a modest crater. He resolves that the fallen student's remains should rest there, near Dean Ji, ensuring he is not alone. Mu Yun contributes his idea, constructing a stone tablet and inscribing the names of the deceased upon it. Bai Zhe expresses agreement, emphasizing the importance of these individuals being remembered by future generations of Kanglin Academy. Amid the moment, Anji's thoughts turn inward. After years of turmoil, her family and fellow members can finally find solace. In a subsequent scene, Anji is seen kneeling within a hall. Yi Xian gently reminds her that she hasn't eaten throughout the day. In his attempt to persuade her, Yi Xian reveals that he has prepared a delicious meal, encouraging her to eat. However, Anji responds that she doesn't have the appetite to eat. As he sits by her side, Yi Xian remarks that she has been kneeling for the entire day and suggests that she should take some rest, offering to keep watch in her place. In response, Anji shares that her grandfather had conveyed to her that he held no regrets after meeting them. Expressing his gratitude, Yi Xian acknowledges the dean's kindness and mentorship. He reflects that if it weren't for the dean's intervention, he and Linga would likely still be wandering aimlessly. Shifting the topic, Yi Xian grabs Anji's attention by proposing that they go to the main academy of the Middle Kingdom to fulfill the dean's wish. Anji raises practical concerns about the considerable effort and financial resources required for such an endeavor. Undeterred, Yi Xian notes his readiness to endure hardship and spill more blood, emphasizing that his only fear is being unable to walk alongside her. Anji's cheeks faintly blush as Yi Xian, the restless Rizzler, strikes again. Agreeing with his sentiment, she affirms that they will embark on this journey together, leaving no one behind. On the following day at Kanglin Hall, Yi Xian warmly welcomes the new fifth-floor master and invites him to take a seat. However, the fifth-floor master declines the offer, explaining that he has come to present the earnings from the auction of the heavenly treasures Yi Xian had brought to the drunken immortal. Just as he was handing a card to Yi Xian, the fifth-floor master playfully prompts Yi Xian to guess the sum within. However, Yi Xian suggests that it's better to simply reveal the amount rather than attempt to guess. In response, the elder discloses that the card contains 360 million gold coins. Yi Xian is left with a gaping mouth as he reacts with astonishment to the elder's revelation. On the contrary, the fifth-floor master brushes it off, noting that it takes 200 million gold coins to advance each stage after attaining the Tongyu realm, and even more resources are required to reach the Dharma realm, a cost that a small kingdom wouldn't be able to bear. Yi Xian connects the dots, commenting that Enlancio and his master are wealthy. The fifth-floor master concurs, mentioning that Enlancio is reasonably well off, yet his revered master's wealth is beyond imagination. Shifting the topic, the fifth-floor master delivers concerning news to Yi Xian. Kungmu Academy has rallied together with the intention of eliminating Yi Xian's own master, the Sword Immortal. Yi Xian raises a question about the feasibility of quelling this threat, prompting the fifth-floor master to explain that suppressing the Jiang branch of Kongmu Academy is feasible, but not the one in the Middle Kingdom. He notes that while sword immortals are formidable and rare, they're not invulnerable, thus advising caution for his master. Despite this warning, the elder reassures Yi Xian that there's no need to panic, disclosing that higher authorities have given their instructions. If Yi Xian's master gives the command, the drunken immortal house will dispatch an individual above the Dharma realm from the Middle Kingdom. Grateful for the information, Yi Xian thanks the elder who departs, agreeing to keep him informed of any further developments. Turning our attention back to the Kongmu Academy, we see the body of the deceased elder lying with a sword embedded in his head, under the watchful eyes of onlookers. An astute elder observes the potency of the sword but notes the absence of any sword intent. From this, he deduces that the responsible party is not a sword immortal but rather a sword emperor. Xianqing reacts with astonishment to this revelation, which is also confirmed by another elder who asserts that he is familiar with all the sword immortals in the Middle Kingdom, and the individual responsible does not belong to their ranks. Relieved by this news, Xianqing remarks that without the threat of a sword immortal, there is no need for fear, as they can simply eliminate the person. Switching the topic, the elder inquires about the impending arrival of individuals from the Dark World. Xianqing responds that they have indicated their imminent arrival. Suddenly, an elder arrives on a bamboo branch, greeting the two esteemed elders as he lands gracefully on the ground. Curious about the newcomer's identity, one of the elders poses the question. However, the bamboo elder reminds them of the Dark World's rule that only the deceased are allowed to know their names. Without further delay, the elder encourages everyone to proceed. However, the bamboo elder interjects, insisting on waiting for one more individual. Curious, the elder inquires about this additional person's identity, and the bamboo elder smugly reveals that it is a sword emperor. Satisfied with this revelation, Xianqing predicts the inevitable downfall of the false sword immortal with the involvement of the sword emperor. Yet, the bamboo elder presents a query to Xianqing, pondering how they should distribute the spoils if successful, given that a sword emperor is on their side. Returning the question, the other elder asks how the bamboo elder proposes to divide the spoils. The bamboo elder suggests that the Dark World only seeks the woman's body, and in exchange, they will relinquish the original golden core. Should she possess any other treasures, they will be divided equally. Both elders contemplate this proposition. However, Xianqing motions for a pause, speaking on their behalf that the distribution of rewards matters less as long as they achieve their goal of eliminating the impostor and restoring Kangmu Academy's century-old reputation. The bamboo elder agrees, confirming that the plan to eliminate the impostor will proceed once the Sword Emperor arrives. Meanwhile, in the back of the mountains, Baizé takes a swing at a massive boulder, seemingly imitating a certain bald individual. Seeing the result, Baizé jubilantly exclaims that he's reached the psionic realm. Simultaneously, Mu Yun's remarkable speed becomes evident as he springs into action. Seeing this, Baizé playfully challenges him, jokingly claiming that a psionic realm master wishes to spar with him. Puzzled, Mu Yun inquires about the person that he is calling a master. In response, Baizé charges at Mu Yun, asserting that he's referring to himself. However, Mu Yun deftly evades Baizé's flurry of punches with remarkable agility. As they step back from their mock confrontation, Mu Yun criticizes Baizé for his unexpected assault. Just then, a rush of air startles both of them. Emerging from the dissipating smoke, a figure urges them to flee without delay. Recognizing the newcomer as the elder, Mu Yun inquires about the cause of his urgency. In response, the fifth-floor master queries them about Yi Xian's whereabouts. Hearing this, Yi Xian questions the elder's reason for seeking him out. The elder imparts an urgent message: the most formidable individuals from Kangmu Academy and the Dark World have arrived in Qingzhou. Inquiring about their numbers, Yi Xian receives an uncertain response, but the elder speculates that they likely aim to target Yi Xian's revered master. He advises the group to hide and escape. However, Mu Yun asserts that the elder has found himself in trouble on their account, and it would be ungrateful for them to flee. Echoing this sentiment, Baizé declares that they'll face whatever comes their way without fear. In that instant, an expansive circle of qi materialized in the sky. The fifth-floor master discerned this as the arrival of their adversaries, and his conclusion was promptly verified as the figures of the previous elders emerged through the qi portal, accompanied by an individual bearing a substantial sword on his back, presumably the Sword Emperor. Observing the newcomers, Yi Xian and his companions realize that these individuals are all above the pinnacle of the Dharma realm. One of the elders recognized the fifth-floor master as an elder of the Drunken Immortal House, prompting the fifth-floor master to inquire about the elder's identity. In response, the elder queried whether he intended to intervene in the unfolding situation. Struggling to formulate a response, the fifth-floor master found assurance in Yi Xian's assertion that he had already offered enough assistance, and should now depart. Despite a potential disagreement, Yi Xian insisted on his stance, driving the fifth-floor master to finally relent. As he took his leave, he reminded Yi Xian that they could call upon him should his master ever require aid. Yi Xian expressed gratitude in response. Directing his attention to the elders, Yi Xian asserted that they would need to pass through them before reaching his master. Sizing up Yi Xian, one elder deduced that Yi Xian had reached the peak of the sky realm with a remarkable foundation so solid that it is rare. He had not only comprehended battle intent but also cultivated both swordsmanship and martial arts. Furthermore, the elder speculated that Yi Xian could potentially secure a place in the top 5 of the martial arts rankings if he were to achieve the psionic realm. This sentiment found agreement from another elder, who surmised that Yi Xian might even surpass Tohu of the Ning in the future. Turning his attention to Yi Xian, the Sword Emperor addressed him, requesting that Yi Xian summon his master, as he had no desire to engage with youngsters. Unyielding, Yi Xian asserted that they must first confront him before earning the right to confront his master. The elder's words sliced through the air, suggesting that Yi Xian's master had a tendency to sacrifice her own. He channeled Qi into his hand, forming a formidable circle that enclosed Yi Xian and his group. The circle emitted a potent gravitational force, pressing down on them intensely. Despite the weight of this pull, Yi Xian urged his companions not to give in. Witnessing their defiance, the elder escalated the pressure, causing Yi Xian to cough up blood. Despite this, Yi Xian remained resolute, standing tall as his qi bursts out from his body, a reflection of his refusal to let his master fight his own battles. Taken aback by Yi Xian's display, the elder expressed astonishment, acknowledging the convergence of two realms and inquiring how Yi Xian had achieved such a feat. With a newfound regard, the elder raised his hand and chose to take Yi Xian seriously, intensifying the pressure on the group even further. Amidst this trial, Mu Yun admitted his inability to endure any longer. Furious at the elder's torment of his friend, Yi Xian lunged at the elder, driven by anger and determination. However, despite Yi Xian's determination, the elder belittled his power, comparing it to that of an ant. He raised his qi-infused hand, directing an enigmatic qi towards Yi Xian, thwarting his attack and causing him to expel blood as he crashed brutally onto the ground. With a tone of indignation, the elder reprimanded him for overestimating himself. Amidst this exchange, the bamboo elder interjected, musing that if this was Yi Xian's capability, the master couldn't be much worse. Unexpectedly, a voice from behind startled the elders as the master inquired whether they were looking for her. In response, the elder questioned if she was the Sword Emperor, while the bamboo elder commented on her femininity. Amused by this, the master chuckled and questioned whether the title of Sword Emperor is truly worthy of her. Turning her attention to the trio, the master instructed them to pay close attention, declaring that it was time to rid themselves of the worthless individuals. With a similar phenomenon from before, the master creates a sword from the surrounding leaves, prompting the Sword Emperor to marvel at her technique. Equally intrigued, Mu Yun turned to Yi Xian, seeking answers about his master's identity. Yi Xian admitted he was equally in the dark, highlighting his master's mysterious nature. Bai Zhe concurred, echoing Yi Xian's sentiment. Addressing the elders, the master beckoned them to engage her in combat together. In response, the Sword Emperor respectfully inquired about her identity, acknowledging his knowledge of every Sword Emperor and Sword Immortal in the Middle Kingdom but not her. However, before he could complete his query, the master interjected, criticizing him for talking too much as she raised her sword and pointed it in his direction. The previously unnoticed sword intent became palpable in the atmosphere. The Sword Emperor instinctively tightened his grip on his own weapon, poised to counter her impending attack with a single swing that generated multiple slashes. Yi Xian and his group observed, concluding that the impact could potentially obliterate the Ji Meteor Mountain. With the swords launched and slashes produced, the two sword techniques clashed, driven by their respective masters. However, amidst this intense exchange, the Sword Emperor's expression suddenly shifted as he notices an attack which he managed to fend off. However, almost like a boomerang, the directed attack eventually penetrates his head from behind, leaving him wondering in his final moment. Witnessing this turn of events, the first elder inwardly wonders how a Sword Emperor could be killed in seconds while the other elder trembles in fear, realizing that the master neither fell into the category of a Sword Emperor nor a Sword Immortal, noting that the swiftness with which she had ended a Sword Emperor's life was beyond the norm. Angered by their incompetence, the bamboo elder questions if the Kangmu Academy is full of trash, remarking that her cultivation is clearly above the Sword Immortal. He adds that even if they sent 100 Sword Emperors, they would merely be a bunch of ants in front of her. Despite his previous demeanor, the other elder questions why he should be afraid of her, pointing out that she is just a woman. Continuing his sentence, the elder prepares to attack as he remarks that he will deal with her if they are afraid of death, charging at the master with his qi-infused hand and sending multiple streaks of qi in her direction. In reaction to this, the master elevates her sword once more, clashing with the elder's attack and penetrating it as it hits its mark on his chest. The stupid elder falls as he wonders how it was possible for him to lose to someone who is supposedly stronger than a Sword Immortal, a person who they had already concluded is a force they are not capable of defeating. Directing her sword at the bamboo elder, the master addresses both of them, her voice authoritative as she inquires about the order of their demise. The bamboo elder concedes, acknowledging their inferiority to her. Simultaneously, the other elder remarks that she is free to act as she sees fit, given her intent to kill him. In response, the master issues a stern threat. She warns them that if they dare to send individuals 2 or more levels above her group to target them, she will show them the true meaning of bullying the weak. She commands them to leave. Confused, the elder asks whether she has no intention of killing them. Her response is concise and sharp, questioning whether he is seeking death. Subsequently, both elders bow before her, expressing gratitude for sparing their lives. Following the departure of the elders, the master turns her attention to Yi Xian, instructing him to approach. As he complies with her command, Yi Xian asks what instructions she has for him. In response, the master questions him if he knows her reason for not killing the elders. Yi Xian answers with another question, inquiring if the master is worried that they will seek revenge on him in the future. In turn, the master queries if that's the impression he gets. Awkwardly, Yi Xian then inquires about her motivations for this choice. In response, the master reveals that her reason is that every time she makes a move, it would be a huge burden for him, and that if he had killed those 2 people, the tower of the boundary prison would not have been able to withstand it, and he wouldn't be able to bear it. Hearing this, Yi Xian thanks his master. However, her master tells him that it is useless to thank him, pointing out that the road of sword cultivation is not a path for others to help him out, and that it is not paved by others for him. Rather, he should walk by himself one step at a time. In turn, Yi Xian assures his master that he will give his best effort. Acknowledging his determination, the master assures him that she recognizes his commitment. Shifting the topic, she suggests that he should endeavor to gain the submission of the big-eyed creature on the 2nd floor willingly, otherwise, he would face dire consequences. Grateful for her reminder, Yi Xian thanks his master as she takes her leave. In his inner thoughts, Yi Xian reflects that the big-eyed creature has been relatively inactive as of late. Addressing his comrades, Yi Xian invited them to go home with him. Mu Yun criticizes the old bastards for being a bully, adding that if it weren't for Yi Xian's master, they'd all be finished. In response, Bai Zhe points out that it is their own fault for being weak. Amidst their exchange, Yi Xian's expression suddenly changes as he experiences the burden of the boundless prison tower, which leads to his collapse, causing his comrades to worry. As they approach Yi Xian, Bai Zhe's concerned inquiry about Yi Xian's well-being is met with his reassuring response, while Mu Yun counters with a retort, questioning how it would be possible for him not to worry. Yi Xian insisted that he was all right, adding that he will be fine after a good night's sleep. However, his sight gets surrounded by black, causing his comrades to call his name before he loses consciousness. On the following day at the Kanglin Academy, Yi Xian reflects on the previous event that probably scared his comrades to death. He concludes that he must get stronger as soon as possible, knowing that this is the only way for him to withstand the repercussions of the boundless prison tower. At this moment, Anji suddenly barged into his room. Surprised, Yi Xian questions her for her reason for not knocking on the door, pointing out that it had scared the hell out of him. In response, Anji questions him if he is afraid that she will see him doing some dirty things, adding that she wouldn't care if she sees it. As she takes his hand, Anji informs him that people from the main academy have arrived. Confused, Yi Xian inquired if it was from the Kanglin main academy, to which Anji confirms, adding that they want to see the dean. Within the halls of Kanglin, Yi Xian and his companions encountered 3 individuals who belittled them as rats. The trio delivered an order from the main academy, instructing them against using the name Kanglin Academy to establish a school. Adding to the decree, the group's leader forbade them from practicing Kanglin Academy's martial arts techniques, enforcing the order with a threat of death for any transgressions. Sarcastically, Yi Xian quipped, asking if there were any other restrictions. The leader retorted negatively, displaying disrespect by questioning Yi Xian's origins and insolently addressing Dean Ji, demanding his appearance. Without hesitation, Yi Xian's palm met the leader's cheek in a slap. Infuriated, the leader questioned Yi Xian's audacity to strike him. In response, Yi Xian coolly challenged the leader, questioning why he wouldn't dare to hit him. He added a query, pondering if the leader was even worthy of addressing Elder Ji with honorifics. Preparing for a confrontation, the leader poised himself for an attack, asserting that Yi Xian was courting death. However, Bai Zai's swift action intervened. His foot connected with the leader's abdomen, sending him crashing into a pole. Observing Bai Zai's display of power, the remaining 2 students acknowledged his demonic beast lineage, recognizing his potent bloodline. Bai Zai's reply was succinct, none of their concern. Addressing the group's leader, Yi Xian declared their unwelcome presence and demanded their departure, threatening to eject them forcibly. In response, the leader retorted, highlighting their status as representatives from the main academy of the Middle Kingdom. He questioned the audacity of Yi Xian and his group in treating them disrespectfully. Approaching the leader, Mu Yun evokes fear as he stares at him with fierce eyes, questioning if he referring to being treated like that. In his attempt to scare him, the leader points out that if they dare make a move on him, the main academy will send someone to wipe out the place. Unfazed, Mu Yun maintains his expression, seemingly mocking the leader as he questions his claim. He then raises his chi-infused hand as he encourages them to come. However, before he could land his punch in the leader's face, Yi Xian immediately urges him to stop. Hearing this, Mu Yun questions Yi Xian for his decision. Yi Xian responds with wisdom, reminding Mu Yun that they have to be virtuous. With an awkward smile, Mu Yun inwardly wonders about Yi Xian's sudden change of heart, noting that it was always him who would provoke the enemies. Going along with Yi Xian's charade, Mu Yun pretentiously notes that in order to convince people by virtue, they should prove it first. Addressing the leader, Yi Xian orders him to go back and tell the people from the main academy that they don't need any help from them. In exchange, they are not allowed to tell them what to do. Additionally, Yi Xian declares that from now on, their academy is no longer related to the main academy. Retorting to this, the leader angrily points out that Yi Xian's academy is still using the name of the Kanglan Academy. In response, Yi Xian declares that what Dean Ji left behind is not something that he would change. He then challenges the main academy that if they want to change it, then they should send someone with the ability to come and remove the plaque from the door. Having exchanged words, Yi Xian issued a decisive order for them to depart. With Yi Xian's unwavering gaze upon him, the leader reluctantly agreed to leave, yielding to the circumstances. However, as they began to depart, the leader left them with a final ominous warning, a reminder that their paths might cross again, and the consequences would be dire. Evident concern appeared on Mu Yun's face, predicting trouble from Kanglan Main Academy if they returned. Unperturbed, Yi Xian responded without a hint of worry, stating to let them come. Taking a seat on the throne reserved for the dean, Yi Xian emphasized the necessity of strengthening themselves before facing any adversaries. He pointed out that with sufficient strength, they need not fear any challenges that come their way. Bai Zai concurred, asserting that their strength would deter anyone from crossing them. Echoing the sentiment, Mu Yun added that not even 100 sword emperors would daunt them. Continuing the discussion, Yi Xian acknowledged they had 10 days until the official admission process. He turned his attention to Anji and Mu Yun, inquiring about the time required to reach the secluded realm. Their eyes locked momentarily, then each raised a finger. Mu Yun confidently stated he needed a month, while Anji proclaimed she could manage it in a single day. Surprised, Mu Yun questioned Anji's remarkable speed, to which she nonchalantly asserted her fierce nature. Yi Xian swiftly informed them that they had merely 8 days. Playfully, he issued a humorous threat, stating that if they failed to reach the secluded realm in time, their coveted chicken legs would all go to Bai Zai. Bai Zai agreed with a smile, while Mu Yun was left with a gaping mouth, likely contemplating the chicken legs he would lose. 10 days later, beneath the towering Ji Meteor Mountain, amidst a vast gathering of people, a conversation unfolds between 2 lively girls. One of them notes how challenging the entrance examination for Kanglan Academy is, while the other insists that they must succeed for the sake of their idol, Dean Yi. A third individual joins the discussion, expressing a different motivation. His presence is because of Sister Ji. Amidst the bustling scene, Mu Yun, along with the group, marveled at the crowd. He posed a question to Yi Xian, wondering if their resources would suffice for such a turnout. Yi Xian responds positively, stating that the large turnout is a sign of their fame. Reassuring the group, Yi Xian encourages them not to worry about finances since he will manage to earn the necessary funds. Amidst his observations, Yi Xian notices a particular girl, prompting him to wonder how she ended up there. Noting his curiosity, Anji queried if he knew her. Yixian identified her as Yijia, the granddaughter of elder Yizhang. Unji's skepticism arose. She asked if he had truly severed ties with his clan or if it was a mere coincidence, and that the girl was simply unaware of his status as the dean of Kanglin Academy. Yixian replies that it doesn't matter, emphasizing that what's important is her ability to succeed on her own merits. Observing the time, Yixian addresses the assembled crowd, extending a warm welcome to the Kanglin Academy and introducing himself as the dean. Continuing his address, Yixian informs them that they are seeking 30 students to join the academy. These candidates will need to pass 3 rigorous examinations, and upon success, they will be welcomed as disciples of the academy. He further assures them that even after reaching the desired number of disciples, those who meet the criteria can still join Kanglin Academy. Upon hearing this, the crowd bursts into celebration. Speculation arises that this offers a second chance for recruitment, while others eagerly anticipate the commencement of the event. Continuing with the event, Yixian took the stage to introduce Mu Yun, who was visibly nervous, as the instructor responsible for explaining the upcoming exam. Internally, Mu Yun rallied his confidence, reminding himself to stay calm despite his inexperience in such situations. Sensing Mu Yun's unease, Yixian offered guidance, suggesting that he approach the task as if he were interacting with Bai Zhe, aiming to alleviate his nervousness. Mu Yun expressed doubt about this approach, but Yixian assured him that it would prove effective. Addressing the assembled candidates, Mu Yun introduced himself awkwardly as Mu Jiamao. However, the name failed to resonate with the crowd. Reacting swiftly to the response, Mu Yun initiated the first level of the test. A grand formation in the sky conjured a sweeping wave of sword-like qi. He explained that anyone struck by these falling swords would be eliminated from the examination. Observing the examinees, especially his cousin, Yixian recollected her previous struggles with swords. He was surprised to witness her newfound proficiency. At that moment, the head of the Li family approached Yixian, accompanied by the head of the Zhang family. They exchanged greetings with him, mentioning that it had been some time. Taken aback by their visit, Yixian inquired about their purpose. In response, both family heads paid their respects to Yixian. Master Li explained that they had brought their clan's young talents to participate in the Kanglin Academy recruitment. Master Zhang added that Yixian's reputation in Qingqing had grown, and the younger generation looked up to him as a role model. Acknowledging their kindness, Yixian noted that he wouldn't be where he was without their support during the Qingqing life-and-death battle. In turn, Master Zhang points out that Yixian was originally a diamond in the rough to begin with. Shifting the conversation, Yixian asked about the whereabouts of their sons within the crowd. Pointing out 2 individuals, Master Li indicated that those 2 aspired to join the Kanglin Academy. Yixian took note of their faces but mentioned that he couldn't show them any favoritism. Understanding his position, Master Zhang emphasized that if their sons couldn't enter the academy based on their own merits, it meant they hadn't fought hard enough for themselves. Agreeing, Master Li asserted that their children held pride in Yixian and wouldn't accept him using his influence to assist them. Pleased with their perspective, Yixian expressed approval, stating that this was the spirit befitting a Qingqing man. I'm not trying to sound like an alien, but what's up, people? I don't usually leave a message after a video since I don't really know what to say. Anyway, what do you think about the series so far? We're only halfway there at the moment. Honestly, I'm a bit scared that I might eventually get in trouble if I keep covering this story. Should I continue this series or should I cover another story? If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and supporting the channel. I really appreciate you all.